Yeah. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mom, your voice is
Yes,
too low,
ma'am.
mom.
Too low. Oh, once again. Why is it like that? Still it is feeble?
Mom, I think
Okay, 1 second. Let
my
me see.
connection is problem. I think, mom. I'll rejoin now.
Oh, okay. Okay. For others, is it audible?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Oh, okay. Then let Shakti join again. Okay, fine. So, let me just ask you something before starting today's class. Hope you were comfortable with my yesterday's introductory session. And I do expect your suggestions for sure. Whatever the changes that you need, the speed of my, lectures. Should I reduce the speed or increase the speed? In that case, you can give me suggestions. And also whether it is like the pronunciation and everything, is it comfortable for you? Can you listen to it properly or something like that? And today onwards we'll be discussing some authors as well as their works and all those things. And just like Dhuray mentioned, you can ask me if you want clarifications in the spellings or something like that, you can ask me. Okay, you can stop me in between, you can interrupt and you can ask me what is the spelling or something like that. And I also wish to have an interactive kind of sessions, sometimes let me ask some questions. In that case, you can, if you know the answer or if you want to make some guesses or something like that, you can do that. Otherwise you can say, okay, we don't know, or we are not in a position to answer or something like that. The responses will be fine rather than continuing with this kind of monotonous lecture. Like, I do expect this kind of replies and responses from you. That will be really make the session interactive. And the second thing, I think some other people that we'll discuss with others too, like the convenience with the time, because it is 6:30, most of the teachers, and they'll be reaching home by only 6 or 6:30. So according to which we can make some changes, like we are not going with a very strict schedule or something like that. We can make necessary changes. So if you have any such suggestions, you can definitely let me know, and we can make the alterations according to that. Okay. And I hope you will be continuing with the whole course, all of you, like Jayalakshmi, Aishwarya, and Shakti. Will you be doing that?
Ma'am, I have to reconsider. I have to speak to my parents first.
Yeah, sure. Please let us know that, okay, maximum as soon as possible. If you are comfortable with this course and if you feel like it is fruitful, you can gain something. In that case, you just tell us and we can also make some, something to help you out or something like that. And if you feel it fruitful, you can continue. That's it. Okay, no other commitments and nothing. So please let us know as soon as possible so that we can fix a frame, and we also can identify who will be the constant listeners and all those things, according to which we can also make some arrangements. That's why. Okay, fine. I think we can start because it's already too late and it's being recorded, so no problem. So yesterday I gave you an introduction. So all of you are students, right? All the three of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Okay. So as I told yesterday, this is the best time to have a better understanding of British literature, and it's the right time to, go with this kind of an option. So if it is possible, you do continue with the course. And then also, if I want to switch over my language to Tamil or something like that for a better understanding, I can manage. You do tell me that we can make that kind of, arrangements also. So whatever your suggestions be, please feel free to let us know that, so that we can, do something accordingly. So we'll start with the Greco-Roman period again. Yesterday, I gave you almost the historical background of this period and how it is important in the history of British literature and how it contributed to the Renaissance period and how it works as the foundation of modern British literature and everything. And today, let us go more in detail into this Greco-Roman period. Actually, of course, in your criticism papers and all, Plato, Aristotle, all these people are very necessary. You can't study criticism without these people. And just like that, Oedipus Rex also by Sophocles is one of the important, portions that we used to cover in almost all the syllabus of almost all the universities. So in that case, Greco-Roman period is really important. And of course, I told you yesterday about the ancient Greece and how the Mediterranean civilizations like Greek civilization, Roman civilization, Egyptian civilization, all these emerged and all those things are familiar to you right now. Let us start with the archaic period. Okay, before the classical period of Greek, there was an archaic period that starts from 9th century BC, and you can see the classical period starts from the 6th century BC. Okay, so this archaic period is before that it is called Dark Ages. Okay, Dark Ages because we don't know anything about the particular culture, or there was no civilization at all, and we don't know much about that particular age, and it was kind of a barbaric age. So we consider that particular age as Dark Ages. And from 9th century onwards, it is known as the archaic period. Okay, during this time, the cities started to form. Greece is an archipelago. Archipelago means group of islands. Okay, so many islands are there, and they are in a group, and that is what called archipelago. Okay, and Greece is such a place, and you can see like during this archaic period, after the Dark Ages, during this archaic period, the cities started to form. Okay, cities started to form, and there were constant war between these cities and states, and ruled by many tyrants. Yesterday I told you, Roman people, they were republicans in nature. The triumvirate, 3 people ruled them, but here it was single ruler, and most probably they will be like very tyrant kind of people, and a kind of dictatorship was there. So Persians were the common enemies for Greek people. All these Greek islands, Persians were the common enemies for them. And during this time, you can identify the authors like Homer. I told you, Homer doesn't belong to the classical period. Okay, classical period, when these people were like during the flowering of this literature, during the flowering of this criticism, they were discussing Homer, who lived before many years. Okay, so Homer, Hesiod, and Sappho, these are the 3 major literary figures that we can identify during the archaic period. Okay, during that time, these people were the composers. They didn't write anything, and later on it is through oral literature that people it was continuing from generation to generation, and then people started to record it. Okay, that's how we now have this Iliad, Odyssey, and all these things. Hesiod was also one of such important figures, just like Homer. And also we have Sappho. Sappho is very important because it was a woman. Okay, Sappho is a woman. She was the first non-woman composer or woman poet during that time, and she was from the island called Lesbos. I told you Greece is full of like a group of islands, and a particular island called Lesbos, and the Sappho is from that Lesbos, and Sappho's works are still there. We have access to her works. So Sappho is very important. Okay, Sappho. That is the spelling of Sappho. Sappho. Sappho, Hesiod, and Homer. These are the 3 people belong to the archaic period. And then comes like we have to discuss Homer in detail, because Homer he was the greatest of Greek epic poets. Okay, and nothing definite known about his life and all, but lives of Homer, likewise many people tried tracing the history, tracing the lifestyle of Homer and all, and probably by this kind of investigations we come to a fact that he was blind and he was a wandering poet who used to compose this kinds of epics, Iliad and Odyssey. Yesterday also I mentioned Iliad and Odyssey. Iliad is an epic, of course. It is the oldest existing works in Western literature. Iliad is considered the oldest existing work in Western literature. And of course, it is set against the Trojan War. Trojan War continued for all 10 years. I hope you know the background of Trojan War and all. And it was between Troy and Greece. And finally, Greek people won because the horse and all, the horse, they set in Troy. And inside the horse, these Greek soldiers were hiding. And finally, they defeated the Troy people and they won the war. This is what Trojan War in a nutshell. And this war, this Iliad is all about Trojan War. Actually, Iliad covers the last 1 week of Trojan War. Trojan War extended for 10 years, more than 10 years, but Iliad actually picturizes the last 1 week of Trojan War. But of course, you can see so many flashbacks to the last 10 years. Okay, so likewise, Iliad is structured, and then actually Iliad is mainly between the heroes like Agamemnon and Achilles. Okay, Agamemnon and Achilles are 2 great heroes who took part in this Trojan War, and Iliad is focusing these 2 heroes. And then comes Odyssey. Odyssey is a sequel to Iliad, and it depicts the journey of Odysseus or Ulysses. Actually, this particular story, Odyssey is more famous to us. Why? Because we have poems like Ulysses. Are you familiar with Ulysses? Alfred Lord Tennyson's Ulysses poem? Have you studied it?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, okay. So you know the story, okay? After the war, he was traveling back to Ithaca, but he was not at all satisfied. He wanted an adventurous life and all. This is what exactly the content of Odyssey also, the epic Odyssey also. And again, James Joyce has written another novel called Ulysses. Okay, its title is also Ulysses, and it is such a like a modernist works which is very complicated to decode the ideas, but still it too has the same content. Okay, so that is what Iliad and Odyssey are. So that is the importance of Homer. And other than Iliad and Odyssey, people say like Homer has composed so many other works also, but we don't have any specific evidences to prove that. But still, Batrachomachia is one of the mock epic poems that is into his credit, Homer's credit. Okay, Batrachomachia. Actually, the spelling is slightly difficult. Batrachomachia. That is Batrachomachia. It's pronounced as Batrachomachia. And we don't know exactly whether it is written by Homer or not, but still this is considered one of Homer's works, that too mock epic. Just imagine the person who has written 2 great epics has written another mock epic. You know what is mock epic is, right? When we discuss Alexander Pope and Milton, we'll definitely discuss the features of epic and mock epics. Okay, actually, this is Batrachomachia, otherwise known as the Battle of Frogs and Mice. Okay, frogs and mice, M-I-C-E, mice. This is what into his credit. And then comes the classical period. Homer belongs to the archaic period, and now comes the classical period. Okay, classical period starts from the 6th century to 5th century and 4th century, all these times. And Athens, you must be familiar with this place, Athens. When Greece comes to our mind, of course, naturally, Athens will also be there. So Athens emerged as the most powerful city or the geographical region of Greece during this time. And it was ruled by Pericles. Have you ever heard this name, Pericles? Pericles is one of the plays by William Shakespeare. Okay, Pericles. So Pericles was a king and who ruled this Athens during that time. So during this time, you can see a tremendous flowering of arts and letters, arts and literature, philosophy, all these things. Yesterday also I mentioned. Okay, and also the disciplines such as political thought, aesthetics, physics, biology, geometry, linguistics, all this mathematics, everything developed during this time, that too with special focus to Athens. Okay. And then rise of philosophy, that is very important. Philosophy means, I told you, it starts with Socrates. Actually, there were some pre-Socratic philosophers, but they are not so popular. The popularity starts with Socrates. But Socrates, unlike Plato or Aristotle, he was an illiterate person. He was an illiterate person, and people considered him to be kind of a mad person. He never, it says like he never take bath. And he's such a, we used to see such kind of gypsy kind of people in the roadside and all those things. No, so he was like that. He never sits at home. So he usually sits at the roadsides and he starts asking questions. He started asking questions to the people who passes by. And the people will be like very leading question. Okay, though he looks like a madman, the questions were very brilliant, and people started to wonder, okay, what can be the answer? And some people started to show interest in Socrates' questions, and they came. And actually, Socrates know the answers, but he pretends to be he doesn't know the answer. And he asks these people to respond to his questions, and just like that it goes. Actually, that is one of the techniques that the teachers can continue with now, and that is called, that style is called Socratic irony. Okay, Socratic irony. And it goes like that. So Aristotle, Plato was a person who was influenced by Socrates, and then Aristotle was the disciple of Plato. So it goes like that. Okay, so we can see like so many pre-Socratic philosophers like Anaximander, Xenophanes of Colophon, then Pythagoras, Pythagoras, then Parmenides, so many people like that. Pythagoras was famous for his geometrical achievements, but not that popular as a philosopher. So it came like that. And Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle were the three people who laid foundation to this criticism, and they were so popular during that time. And then comes classical drama. Okay, classical drama. It was like tragedy first, and tragedy emerged, of course, in Athens again. And there was a reason for emerging this kind of tragedy, because there was a city called Dionysia, and there was a god called Dionysius. Have you heard of Dionysius before? Dionysius, the god of wine.
No.
Okay, actually Dionysius is the god of, in Greece his name is Dionysius, and in Roman language, in Rome, he is known as Bacchus. You may be familiar with this Bacchus, the name, because I don't know whether you have done with Ode to a Nightingale. In Ode to a Nightingale, there is a popular line like, away, for I will fly to thee, not charioted by the Bacchus and his parts, but in the viewless wings of poesy. Okay, do you remember? And that Bacchus is the same Bacchus, because Bacchus is the god of wine and fertility, all these merrymaking. Okay, the people, find merry with the alcohol and drugs and all these things. Such a god is Dionysius or Bacchus. It is the same god. In Greek, he is known as Dionysius, and in Rome, he is known as Bacchus. That is the difference. So in Dionysius, actually there is a religious festival on, okay, in Greece, there is a religious festival, and this Dionysius will be there, and to make Dionysius also happy, the people will drink and they'll have all kinds of merriments there, and there people started to perform drama also. Okay, this drama also. And there was a rule actually. One person, if you would like to present a drama there, you have to go with 3 dramas, 3 tragedies mostly. Okay, tragedy emerged during that time. Tragedy was the first genre that emerged at that time, and you have to go with 3 tragedies and then 1 satire or something like that. Okay, that's why you can see most of the ancient Greek tragedies are trilogies. Trilogy means a single stretch. You can have a combination of 3 tragedies, a combination of 3 drama, a combination of 3 novels, whatever it is, that is what called trilogy. And in Greek, tragedies are mostly trilogies in nature, and this is the reason. Okay, in Dionysius, according to this Dionysius festival, we have to present 3 dramas. That's why. And all these people, Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides, all these are the greatest tragedians during this time, and they all contributed so much of dramas. Okay, more than 100, more than 90. Likewise, they had numbers, because every time they have to go with 3 dramas, right? So, and most of them are like retained, and now we have access to all those dramas, and many got in vain, and we don't know what about all those dramas, things like that. And then comes comedy. Okay, comedy came after tragedy, developed later in association with the satire. I told you satire was already there, along with tragedy, satire was there, and from satire, comedy developed. And usually it is based on, the comedies are usually based on some mythological facts or something like that. Okay, then Greek theater was also in this Dionysius space. There will be like a theater where you have to perform this drama, and it has a theatron, like the seats for the people, and an orchestra. Orchestra means a circular area in the ground level. Okay, for this accompanying things are to be placed there. And then thigh meal. Thigh meal is kind of an altar-like place where we place this Dionysius, because everything happens to please Dionysius, right? The god. So an altar-like place is there for Dionysius, and that is called thigh meal, Thymele. And then again, the scene or skein. That is what called the scene building on the side of the orchestra, where you can see the exact drama and all. Okay, so likewise, and then again there are 2 more places, that is proscenium or proscenium. Actually, this is the level area in front of the scene for action of the play. That is like the parts of the stages. This is just for an understanding. These all are not that important. Then diazoma. Diazoma is the final part of the Greek theater. The passage dividing the seats tiers. Okay, there will be space between the seats, and that is called diazoma. So this is the structure of Greek theater. When we go for Elizabethan theater and its structure, that is very important. We can compare it with the Greek structure and all those things. Then structure of Greek tragedy. This is the structure of Greek theater, the construction, the concrete part. And how the Greek tragedy was structured. First of all, there will be a prologue. You know what is a prologue is, right? This is an expository or an introduction session which speaks something about the drama. This is what the drama is all about, or something like that. And then parados, Parados, not X. Okay, it's not paradox, it is parados. Parados means the chorus. The chorus is the main part, and chorus enters. And again, they are chanting some odes, and they'll be giving more information on the characteristic features of some characters or some specificities of the work or something like that. Then episodes and stasimon. Episodes means action is contained in 5 episodes. Mostly the tragedies, the Greek tragedies will be having 5 episodes. Okay, and that is what called episode. The scenes or something like that that we have now, the acts and scenes, right? It is like that, episodes. And the choral odes are called stasima. Okay, in between the chorus will come, and this chorus will be like singing some odes or something like that, and that is called stasima. Then finally, Exodus. Exodus means the concluding part, okay, the concluding scene. And most probably in the concluding scene, there will be a deus machina. Deus machina means all of a sudden, it will be like full of people, the human beings. And all of a sudden, some divine power will enter on the stage to help the actors to help the characters, and they'll be making a tremendous change in the story or something like that. That is what's called deus machina in Greek theater. And this Exodus, or the concluding part, is having all these things: deus machina, the inclusion of deus machina, and all those things. So this is what the structure of Greek tragedy: prologue, parados. Parados is again kind of a prologue, which is the chorus, then episodes and stasimon, then Exodus. Okay, so these are the 5 parts of a Greek tragedy. Then let us see the tragedians in detail, that is Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides. Okay, Aeschylus is known as the father of Greek tragedy because during this Dionysius festival, it was Aeschylus who won the first prize many times. Okay, it was Aeschylus who got so many appraisals from people for his drama or something like that. But still, it doesn't mean that Sophocles or Euripides are kind of meager or inferior to him. They were also good, but during that time, Aeschylus was the one who got so much of appreciations from people. Okay, and there are some important factors regarding Aeschylus and Euripides. When Greek tragedy started, there was only a single character. Okay, it's not like the common drama we usually see now. There was only a single character, and Aeschylus was the person who introduced the second character into the drama. Okay, he was the one who introduced the second character. Actually, we got this information from Aristotle's Poetics. Aristotle was also belonged to this classical period of Greece, and then he in his Poetics says like it is Aeschylus who introduced the second character, and it is Sophocles who introduced the third character in the drama. Okay, no, we cannot see any Greek tragedies with more than 3 characters. This is how it goes, maximum 3. So Aeschylus was the one who introduced the second one, and Sophocles was the one who introduced the third one. Then Aeschylus, of course, I told you, he's the father of the tragedy, and he was the one who was getting all these praises most of the time. And his greatest tragedy is called the Oresteia. Already I told you these tragedies are trilogies. Okay, trilogies, because it's a combination. One particular thing includes 3 different dramas. So Oresteia, Oresteia. Okay, Oresteia. The Oresteia is the major trilogy written by Aeschylus, which includes 3 dramas named Agamemnon. Hope you remember Agamemnon. Agamemnon and Achilles, they were the 2 heroes who participated in Trojan War, about whom Homer wrote. Okay, Agamemnon. So Agamemnon is the hero, and that is the title of the first play of Aeschylus. And the second one is the libation bearers. Okay, the libation bearers. And the third one is Eumenides. Okay, the Eumenides. These 3 are the plays included in the trilogy, the Oresteia. That is the best known play of Aeschylus. And the story is there. You can sometimes search and find out the story, because if I go with the stories also, it will be like too extended. I am actually interested to explain the stories and all, but we can go with the main stories, major stories, which we cannot skip in course of time. When we come to this Elizabethan and Victorian period and all those times, we have to go with some stories. So that time I will give you the gist of some stories. Now it will be like too long. And then comes Sophocles. Sophocles, I think you are familiar with because of this Oedipus Rex. Oedipus Rex is one of the most popular, most common tragedies that we used to discuss even in our syllabus. And he was also one of the prize winners, okay, during the dramatic competitions. And he believed to have written over more than hundreds of plays, okay. Most of them lost. We don't have most of them. And initially, he imitated Aeschylus, because Aeschylus, he put a benchmark. So initially Sophocles imitated Aeschylus, but later he developed a style of his own. Okay, and his major trilogy is the Theban trilogy. It includes Oedipus, okay, Oedipus Rex, and Oedipus at Colonus, and Antigone. These are the three dramas. Are you familiar with Oedipus Rex, the story of Oedipus Rex? Can anyone respond?
No, ma'am.
You don't know. Okay, maybe you will be studying it in your PG course. Without the story of Oedipus Rex, I don't know how to proceed with. Okay, Oedipus Rex is like I'll tell you in a nutshell. When Oedipus was born to Laius and Jocasta, they were the king and queen of a particular place, Thebes. Okay, and then there was an oracle that Oedipus, this son, will kill his father and marry his mother. Both the parents got shocked, and they said like, okay, we will kill this. Yeah, it is all about to end, and you can join late. You can join with the same link, okay, once it is over. So Laius and Jocasta, they got frightened, and they asked this boy to be killed. But later, the boy didn't die. Actually, he was adopted by Polybus and Merope. Okay, they were the king and queen of Corinth, a neighboring country, and they adopted this kid. And after a while, this kid understood that, okay, I am an adopted son, and why I got adopted, and likewise he had so many confusions, and he came to know this. Okay, okay. So as we are continuing with the story, I didn't want to take a break. That's why. Yeah. Okay. So now he very devastated. Oedipus. He left his adopted parents, and he was like wandering or something like that. So in between, he is reaching a place where he doesn't know which is the place and all. And there because this person is very angry now, okay, and he had a fight with the person and he killed that person. Okay, and then but that was actually Laius, the king, his father. Okay, so the oracle was now a truth. And then he was again traveling in between, and the country lost its king. So they were in search of a new king, because there was no sons or daughters for these people, because Oedipus was the only son, and they left this person in his childhood itself. So there was no heirs for the king. And then they said like there will be a riddle, and whoever the person who answers for that riddle, who gives answer to the riddle, will be the next king. And this person Oedipus gives the answer, and finally he becomes the king of Thebes. So naturally he is marrying the widowed queen. Okay, he doesn't know who it is, who it was, and all those things, but unfortunately that was Jocasta, his own mother. So without knowing all these things, Jocasta doesn't know this, Oedipus doesn't know this, Laius also, who died, who doesn't know this, that his son killed him. Because they thought like the kid got killed during his infancy itself. They didn't know that this guy was bringing up by someone else. And then finally the country was having heavy drought, heavy famine and scarcity and all these things. So during that time, they seeked for the reasons for this, and finally they came to know that it is Oedipus who killed Laius, and it is Oedipus who married Jocasta, and they had 4 children. So their heart got broken with this knowledge. And Jocasta, she killed herself. She committed suicide. And Oedipus, actually, he blinded himself. Okay, he said like, no, I can't see all these things. And he blinded himself. And this is the story of Oedipus Rex, and this is considered the best tragedy according to the features of a tragedy proposed by Aristotle. This can be considered a best example of a tragedy, Greek tragedy. So this is how it goes. And then Oedipus at Colonus and Antigone. These are the 3 plays included in this Theban trilogy. Antigone is actually the daughter of Oedipus and Jocasta, and that is another story. Antigone has 2 other brothers, and they died. And Antigone has 2 options: either she should leave one of the bodies of her brother to the wandering animals. Otherwise, she should fight against the system. She should fight against the king, and she should get the burial of the person. But ultimately, along with that, she will also get punished. She will also get killed. So these are the two options for her, but Antigone stood strong and she wanted her brother to be buried with all the funeral rituals, and she did it, and she commits suicide. Okay, before the system does something on her, she commits suicide. So such a bold woman character was Antigone. So these are the three plays written by, included in the Theban trilogy, written by Sophocles. And then comes Euripides. Euripides is also the author of almost 90 plus plays, okay? And he took a major step in depicting the mythical heroes as ordinary people. Actually, Euripides was a person who went initiated some unconventional styles in tragedies. He didn't follow Aeschylus or Sophocles blindly. He brought his own changes, okay? So many unconventional changes were brought in by Euripides. So he was such a, remedial, what to say? This kind of a rapid kind of a, person who initiated so many changes. So his most famous play is Medea. Okay, Medea is his most famous play. Actually, Medea is the story. She's she's taking revenge, Medea's revenge on her husband Jason. Jason has left her for another woman. He had a relationship with another woman so Jason left her. So Medea is taking revenge against Jason. That is the main story of Medea. Then Medea kills her husband's bride. Okay, now he's having a relationship with another lady, and Medea kills that girl. And then also the thing is, like, Medea kills her own sons, okay, her own children, to torment Jason. To take revenge on her husband, she is killing her own children. Okay, that's how the story goes. So Medea is the best known work of Euripides. So it goes like that: Aeschylus, the Orestius, and for Sophocles, the Theban trilogy, and for Euripides, it is Medea. Okay, please do remember all these dramas, because they are the most popular and existing dramas of all these people. Then let's see some comedians during this time. We have seen the tragedians, Aeschylus, Euripides, and Sophocles, and now some comedians. They are Aristophanes. Aristophanes, okay? P-H-A-N-E-S, Aristophanes. Actually, he's a stalwart of comedy. He was a popular figure of comedy, which came to be known as old comedy. Okay, old comedy. Why it is old comedy? Because there was new comedy also. Okay, later on, the later writers made some changes in the nature of writing comedy, and they made some changes, and that's why it is called new comedy, and this is called old comedy. So Aristophanes is a person who is famous for his old comedy. Okay, and the two major works that he has written are the Clouds as well as the Frogs. Actually, you can see Aristophanes is a person who mocked at the works of Euripides, Socrates, and all these people. In his works, in his comedies, actually he lampooned or he mocked at some, popular figures of that time. Like Socrates was one among them, Euripides was one among them. Okay, so likewise he made some, comical advances on them. So Clouds is actually, in Clouds, he is comically caricaturing this Socrates. And, this made a very great impact also. And this is why actually Greek people started to have a suspicious look at the philosophers. And the philosophers are to be trialed. And Socrates was actually executed, okay, by making him drinking the hemlock. He died, actually. So actually Aristophanes made a beginning to all these things. So that's why he is very famous, the Clouds. And the second one is Frogs, okay, F-R-O-G-S, Frogs. And here he is like making some comic comments or some satirical comments on Euripides. So these are the two major works of Aristophanes. Then comes Menander. I told you Aristotle is popular for old comedy. So who brings the new comedy? That is Menander. Okay, Menander. Menander is known for the new comedy because he is associated with this new comedy because this is like more generalized situations. What is the difference between old comedy and new comedy? Is like in old comedy, it was all like the local situations and original people were the characters of their works and all. But in new comedy, it was kind of generalized situations, not a local or specific situation. But in new comedy, you can see generalized situations and stock characters, not the original specific characters, but stock characters were introduced in new comedy. Okay, Menander's new comedy. And Menander's new comedy is eventually led to the development of comedy of manners. You must be familiar with comedy of manners, which was so popular during the Restoration period. And even Shakespeare has written so many, dramas which come under this category, comedy of manners. And Menander's new comedy is actually the basis for this comedy of manners. Okay, Menander's new comedy. Then these are the two people in Greece. These are the two people who are well known for writing comedy. That is Aristophanes and Menander. Aristophanes for old comedy and Menander for new comedy. Then Pindar was also there. Pindar was a person who was not connected with drama, but he wrote odes. Okay, odes, O-D-E, ode. You may be familiar with odes. And Pindar was the person who is familiar for his ode. Still, we know like Pindaric odes, right? A major group of Pindar's odes are known as victory odes. Okay, victory odes and all. And like a variation of the Pindaric ode is called the irregular ode, which was actually developed by Abraham Cowley in the 17th century. Actually, for Abraham Cowley, the irregular odes inspiration is from this Pindaric ode. So Pindar is also one of the important persons you should be very, conscious about while tracing the classical Greek history. Then comes our philosophers, so Plato, Aristotle, and the Socrates. We have already discussed the Socrates and Socratic irony and Socrates' nature of dialogues and all those things. Plato was born into an aristocratic family, and Aegina, okay, that was the island to which he belongs to. And actually, his real name is not Plato. It is Aristocles. Okay, Aristocles. That means a very broad-shouldered man. That is the meaning of Aristocles, and that was Plato's earlier name. And he received excellent education, which aroused him respect for a tradition and all those things. And just like the youngsters during that time, who are interested in politics, who are interested in this kind of philosophical thoughts and all, he also got influenced by Socrates at the age of 20, like all the other people, young men of Athens. Plato came under the influence of Socrates. Okay, and the initiation to philosophy, the Peloponnesian War and all these things, it contributed to this development of philosophy, because these people started to analyze what is the necessity of this war, and all such kinds of thoughts were there. And Socrates was very critical of the corrupt Athenian politics. Okay, and in politics, and he refused to be involved in that. He was not a person who was blindly following all whatever the rulers were doing. He was very critical about that. He was critical about the corruption and all those things. So the philosophy developed in that way. Plato now, and because of the Socrates influence, actually Plato had some interests in politics. Okay, but because of the Socrates influence, he dropped his idea of joining politics and having some political concerns or something like that, and he completely changed into philosophy. And then it was a time of moral and political degeneracy. I told you by the end of this time, classical period, Greece started to face a political decline, and by then Romans started to gain that popularity. So there was a decline in the national character and standards of the public life, and everything happened during this time. And after the death of Socrates in 399 BC, Plato left Athens and he traveled to Italy, Sicily, Egypt, and so many other places like that. Okay, because he didn't know for a time what to do, and so he made this kind of travels. And later he returned to Athens. And in 387 BC, Plato, along with some other mathematicians, they founded a philosophical school called Academy. This is very important. Please do familiar with this name, Academy, which is which is founded by Plato. Okay, that was the philosophical school, Academy. Then Academy became very famous due to this Neoplatonists, because just like Plato got influenced by Socrates, many people got influenced by Plato, and many joined the school Academy, and it was so popular during this time. And in Plato's Academy, subjects like mathematics, philosophy, astronomy, biology, political theory, so many disciplines were taught. Okay, and actually they put a board outside like let no one without mathematics or geometry enter. Okay, so it is very important to learn geometry or mathematics during that time. And of course, you know about dialogues. When it is Plato, Plato is synonymously identified with his work dialogues. Okay, dialogues is like much of Plato's philosophy is in the form of dialogues. Usually, I told you Socrates was an illiterate person, so he didn't write anything, but he contributed a lot. So Plato was adopting the style that Socrates continued, this question answer sessions, this discussion sessions. And then Plato's dialogues are like, especially like just like the name mentions, it is in the form of dialogues. Socrates may be one of the speaker, and one of the speakers, and other people will also be like speaking. It's in the form of dialogues. Okay. And it is called the Socratic dialogues, and deal with some moral philosophical problems and all. Actually, 36 dialogues were written by Plato, but we don't have all those 36 dialogues right now with us. But we have this Republic, Apology, Georgias, Ion, then Phaedrus, Protagoras. Okay, all these are still existing. And Republic is the most famous one, and Iron is also, like, you can have so many of his ideas in Iron also. Republic is a vindication of the idea that good life is possible only in an ideal state, and according to which he is like, okay, poets are to be banished from the ideal state and all. Okay, his concept of ideal state and utopian state, or all these things are included in Republic. And he never wrote a single work on poetry. Actually, we can trace the different parts from the different this dialogues. Okay, we can like get the bits and pieces from each and every dialogues, and we can like collaborate it to know his understandings and his notions on poetry. Then comes Aristotle. Okay, so Socrates' disciple is Plato, and Plato's disciple is Aristotle. Aristotle was born into, again, a well-to-do family, but in the Macedonian town. Okay, not in Athens or Aegina. It was in the Macedonian town, Stagira. Okay, that is the place. And his father was Nicomachus. Nicomachus was a physician. Okay, and then in 367, when Aristotle was 17 years old, his uncle sent him to Athens to study Plato's Academy, because Plato's Academy was so popular all over Greece during that time. So people from different places, different geographical regions started to join this academy. So when Aristotle was 17, his uncle found some philosophical interests, and he is a very brilliant boy or something like that. So he sent him to academy. So after Plato's death in 347, and you can see like he spent Aristotle spent almost 20 years there in academy. First, he was a student and then he was a teacher there. Aristotle was a teacher there. Okay. So after Plato's death in 347, the academy was headed by his nephew. Okay, his nephew. His name is Speusippus. Nephew's name is Speusippus. But Speusippus had so many divergent ideas from Plato. Actually, his thoughts were slightly different, and this time the people in Athens had some resentments with the Macedonian people. They considered Macedonian people to be the enemies. So Aristotle had Aristotle find it difficult to continue with this place, because already Plato is no more, and this Speusippus is having some different kinds of thoughts and ideas. So everything made Aristotle to leave that place. Okay, so that's how he leaves academy after 20 years. Then back in Athens, so he too had so many travels to other places. He communicated with other peoples, and he enlarged his potential and everything, the intellectual capacity and everything. And he came back in Athens and founded his own school. Okay, academy is founded by Plato, and now Aristotle, after spending 20 years there in academy and after having some travels all around the places, he is now back to Athens, and he has founded another school that is called Lyceum. Okay, these two schools are very important, academy as well as Lyceum. And he spent 12 to 13 prodigious years at Lyceum. He taught so many people there, just like Plato influenced others. So many people got influenced by Aristotle, and he spent almost 12 to 13 years there. Okay, under his direction, his students and associates carried out research in philosophical. He was a supervisor, PhD supervisor or something like that, and so many students under him continued with research in philosophy and scientific topics. And after the death of his wife, Aristotle developed an attachment to another lady, and they had a son again called Nicomachus. Nicomachus was the name of his father. And then, he had another son with the same name and all those things. That is what all we knew about his personal life and all. Then Aristotle once again left. Alexander the Great was the disciple of Aristotle. And when Alexander the Great died in the war, Aristotle once again left Athens and took refuge in his mother's birthplace and all those things. Okay. And he died in 322 at the age of 62. Okay, he died. Then Aristotle's works, of course, as we discussed, poetics, rhetoric, then Nicomachean ethics, all these are the existing works now. Actually, he had written more. The works known in Aristotle's own lifetime were more than 27 in number, 27 dialogues modeled on those of Plato. Because what Plato continued, like Plato was continuing with Socratic dialogues, and Aristotle was also continuing with the same way. Like 27 dialogues were written by Aristotle, but we don't know where all those dialogues are. Only surviving dialogues are poetics, rhetoric, and Nicomachean ethics, and all these things. Okay, so this is what all about the Greek classicism. Okay, this includes the Greek classical period. So you have to start from the Dark Ages, the Archaic period, then the classical period, and in the classical period, tragedies were there and the greatest tragedians. Then comedy was also there, the two comedians we mentioned, that too, old comedy and new comedy. And then comes the philosophers. As I told you, some pre-Socratic philosophers were also there, but still these people were the popular ones, and these are the major works of these people. Okay, all these what the important things that you should know about the Greek classical period. And we'll finish with the Roman history. Actually, Rome, yesterday I told you the Roman people conquered Greece, and they people actually, though they politically conquered, I told you they were literally following the culture, they were literally following the arts and forms of Greece. Okay, so and I told you how it was in Rome. It was not monarchy, but the triumvirate was there. Like Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus was the two people in the first triumvirate. And of course, if three people are ruling a country, definitely one person will be dominating. And that was Caesar. But the Republicans were afraid of a dictatorship, so they all planned, and with the help of Brutus, they killed or assassinated Julius Caesar. Then comes the second triumvirate, okay? Second triumvirate with Mark Antony, Octavian, and Lepidus. Okay, Lepidus. These people were the three people included in the second triumvirate, and again they had conflicts. Some civil wars broke out, and Octavius Caesar was against. He was the single person, and he was against others. And Antony and Cleopatra, they joined together and they fought against Octavius Caesar, but finally they lost. Okay, so likewise Octavius Caesar won the battle and became the first emperor of Rome. Till then it was triumvirate, and he is Octavius Caesar is the first emperor of Rome, and he took the title of Augustus Caesar. Okay, he changed his name from Octavius Caesar to Augustus Caesar. Then he's the first emperor of Rome, defeated Mark Antony and Cleopatra, so his reputation was much high. And during this time, we can see this Roman classicism. Okay, Roman classicism. First is the age of Cicero, that starts from 80 to 43 BC. 80 to 43 BC, and the second stage starts with 37 to AD 14, not BC, 37 BC to AD 14. That is the period of age of Augustus Caesar. Okay, so in the classical period, Romans were profoundly influenced by, I told you, Greek philosophy, Greek culture, and Greek literature. So they were kind of imitating the Greek culture during this time, like the Stoic philosophy. Stoicism means duty, discipline, political involvement, all these things. And then Epicureanism. Epicureanism means pleasure of everyday life. I'll tell you in a nutshell, the carpe diem thing, the metaphysical poetry is mainly go with this carpe diem mode, no? Like feel the present, enjoy the present. Okay, don't think about the future, don't think about the past, just be in the present and enjoy the maximum. That is what the idea called Epicureanism. Then also skepticism. Skepticism means loss of belief in higher values. Beauty is fleeting and all these things. So these were the three major ideas that dominated the Roman classical period. Okay, and Roman classicism actually influenced European Renaissance. I told you how it influenced European Renaissance and how this lays a foundation to modern British literature, modern European literature, everything. And now let's see the popular figures of Roman classicism. Okay, first of all, it is Virgil. Yesterday I have just mentioned the names of these people like Virgil, Ovid, and this Horace. Okay, and then Virgil, his span extends from 70 to 19 BC. And then he wrote pastoral poetry. Okay, Virgil wrote pastoral poetry, that is eclogue or bucolics. It is known as either eclogues or bucolics. Okay, and then why Virgil is so famous? What made him so popular is the greatest epic that he has written, that is Aeneid. A-E-N-E-I-D. Okay, Aeneid. That is Aeneid, and this is an epic modeled after Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. Okay, the foundation or the the background with which he developed this epic was Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. It was modeled on Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. And then he wrote this Aeneid. Actually, it follows the Trojan refugee Aeneas. Aeneas is a warrior who fought in the Trojan War. And it is the story. Aeneid is the story of the great warrior Aeneas. Okay. And marks the symbolism of the Augustan regime. And then, you can see like strong association between Augustus and Aeneas, because Augustus was ruling that time. So he wanted to, impress the king also. So he had not exactly to impress, but he made so many connections with Augustus and Aeneas. And then Virgil's work had a profound influence on Western literature for sure. Okay, Aeneid is still so popular, and so many popular in Dante's Divine Comedy. You can see Virgil appears as Dante's guide in Purgatory, or the Purgatory, the hell. Okay, in that place it is Virgil who is the guide of Dante. Okay, so likewise he is having much influence even in the Western literature. Even today we have so much of references of Virgil in many of the works. Then comes Horace. Okay, Horace is like 65 to 08 BC. He is a Roman classicist. He lived in the 1st century BC. Actually, Horace is popular for his odes and satires and epistles. Epistles means letters. Okay, he is so popular for not the tragedy or the comedy, just like the Greek people, but for his odes, his satires, and his epistles. Okay, and his odes were like homostrophic odes. Homostrophic means, I told you in an ode when I spoke about Pinter, I think I didn't mention it. In Greece, I told you it's Pinter. Pinter was known for his odes and all. So Pinter's odes are like, there are 3 parts for, or 3 styles are there for Pinter: strophe, antistrophe, and epode. Okay, depending on the chorus style, it varies. The style varies. Strophe, antistrophe, and epode. But here in Horace odes, you can see it is like homostrophic. It goes in a single stretch. Okay. And then it is very calm, meditative, and colloquial type of an ode. And then satires. Horace wrote so many Horatian satires. It is known as Horatian satires. And the speaker is an urban, witty, tolerant man of the world. And the speaker may be speaking something against, satirizes some social issues or something like that. So it goes in that way. And also some epistles, letters. Okay, Ars Poetica is one of the important works by Horace. Ars Poetica, A-R-S Poetica, Poetica. That is one of the important works by him. And then comes Ovid. You know Ovid, right? Ovid's Metamorphoses is very popular, and he was a witty, sophisticated. He wrote so many witty, sophisticated love poems. Okay, mostly love poems. Ars Amatoria is one of the famous works by Ovid. Ars Amatoria, A-R-S-A-M-A-T-O-R-I-A, the art of love. That is the translated version, the art of love. This is a scientific didactic work on how to find a lover and how to maintain, keep a lover, maintain the relationship with the lover and all those things. Okay, it's a humorous, satirical style, written in a humorous, satirical style. Ars Amatoria. Then again, a Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is a narrative poem beginning with the creation of the world and ending with Ovid's time. That's how Metamorphosis goes. And then 200 tales, more than 200 tales are taken from Greek and Roman mythology and included in this Metamorphosis. That's why I told you many medieval poets, as well as even Shakespeare, so many people, they have taken this mythological stories from Metamorphosis and they rewrote it. Then comes, so that is the importance of Ovid. Actually, Augustus Caesar, the king, Augustus Caesar banished Ovid to an isolated island, and he died in exile, actually. That is what the end of Ovid. Then comes Seneca. You may be, I don't know whether you're familiar with, but still you must have heard Senecan tragedies. Senecan tragedies, the Spanish tragedy by Thomas Kyd and all. We usually categorize it under Senecan tragedy. That means Seneca was a person who lived during the Roman classical period, and he set some kind of a tragedy with certain features, and the tragedies which follow that particular features, it is almost similar to the revenge tragedy, Senecan tragedy or revenge tragedy, with full of bloodshed and all those things, revenge, all those things. Okay, so that is what called a Senecan tragedy. And Seneca the younger was also living during this time. He was a Roman statesman, a dramatist, and a poet, and a Stoic philosopher also. Actually, he was Emperor Nero's teacher. Okay, he was Emperor Nero. You know Nero, right? Nero, king. It's a legendary king. Like Nero played fiddle when Rome was burning. Okay, we have all those proverbs even in Tamil, Malayalam, and all the languages, I guess. So Seneca committed a forced suicide at Nero's orders. Then he upheld the principles of, I told you, the Stoicism, cynicism, and all those things. And his tragedies were full of blood. I told you that is actually the important feature of a Senecan tragedy. It's full of bloody tragedies. Intense, violent, melodramatic plays, mostly written in very rhetorical type of a language, and also wrote philosophical essays, letters of satires, and all those things. So we have mentioned some people who wrote epic, that is Virgil, and then Horace, who wrote odes, satires, and all those things, and Ovid, who wrote love poems and love tales, something like that. Then Seneca with this bloody kind of tragedies. And then comes some people who wrote comedies, okay? Just like Aristophanes and Menander in Greece, we have Plautus and Terence in Rome, okay? Plautus and Terence are major influences even now. Yeah. Okay, yeah, like Plautus wrote comedies that are versions of Greek new comedy, Menander's comedy. Okay, that is what Plautus also followed. So many stock characters, generalized situations, and all those things. Menachemy is one of the important works by Plautus. Menachemy, okay, Menachemy, and then this. Amphitryon. Amphitryon is also another work by Plautus. So these are the major works by Plautus. And then again, Terence, T-E-R-E-N-C-E. Terence and Plautus are the two major comedians. He is a younger contemporary of Plautus, and who wrote comedies that are earliest intact works of Roman literature. He was a slave, actually. Terence was a slave earlier, who was later freed. Okay, and more refined style of expression was shown by Terence, and the plays are Latin versions of Greek plots. Mostly he followed the Greek plots, but a Latin version, a Roman version of the Greek plots. And all his 6 comedies have survived. He has written, according to our knowledge, he has written 6 comedies, and all are like survived. His most famous play is The Eunuchs. Okay, The Eunuchs is the most famous play by Terence. So this is what all about. These are the major figures in Greek and Roman classical period. Actually, I had the plan of completing the Old English period too, but already like the time is up, and you know, it will be really hectic to have so much of information too. So I guess you remember all these people starting from the archaic period in Greece. I'll simply say the major figures like Homer. Of course, Homer belonged to the archaic period, and Sappho and Hesiod were also there. And in the classical period, we had the rise to philosophy and drama, and we have seen the structure of the theater, the structure of the tragedy, and all these things. Then Aeschylus, the Oresteia is his trilogy, popular trilogy. Then Sophocles with his Theban trilogy. Then Euripides with his Medea. Then comes Aristophanes with his Clouds and the Frogs. Then Menander wrote the new comedy, which is the source for comedy of manners. Then Pindar with his odes. Okay, he was the one who wrote the odes and all. Strophe, antistrophe, antipode, and all those things. And then comes the philosophers like Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle. Plato was the one who founded the academy, and Aristotle was the one who founded Lyceum. Both of them were very influential. And coming to the Roman classical period, it starts with Virgil. Virgil was he's known for his popular epic Aeneid. And also he has written this eclogues or bucolics, the pastoral poems and all those things. And Horace is known for his satires and his odes and his epistles, Ars Poetica. And then comes Ovid with his love stories and love poems, Ars Amatoria and Metamorphosis. And still Metamorphosis has great influence on the writers. And then Seneca with his revenge tragedies, bloodshedded tragedies and all those things. Then Plautus and Terence are the people who wrote comedies during the Roman classical period. So these are the Greek and Roman classical period, which is of course the foundation of British modern literature. And definitely when we discuss in course of time, when British and British literature will be discussed in detail, definitely the traces or the references of these people will come in between. And that time you can easily recognize and understand the influence and importance of these people. With that, I think we can wind up today's session. Thank you for your patient listening. And the recorded link will be shared, I guess. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, then. So we will wind up. Thank you. Thank you, Sakti and Abhiram. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.